Greetings, Local 2627 sisters and brothers. Today is Monday, June 29th, and I hope everybody had a great week. Anyway, I just want to give you a couple of quick updates. I want to make sure you understand the difference between competitive and non-competitive titles. A competitive title is where you have to take an exam. A non-competitive title is where you don't have to take an exam because the city feels it's not practical for you to take an exam for your for your title. Now, that being said, the only way to become a permanent city employee is that you have to take an exam, be called from a list, and appointed in that title, the title you took the exam for. That's the only way that you can become a permanent city employee. Now, if you're in one of the non-compet titles, you're not a permanent city employee. In fact, it takes you 5 years before you have due process rights, which means that you have 5 years before the union can actually represent you in any type of grievances and things like that. Now, does it get by the agencies a lot of times? Yes, it does, most of the time. But if they really want to get nasty, they say, hey, you can't be represented by the union yet because you don't have 5 years in. So what I'm saying is, let me repeat this. I want to make myself very clear. If you're in a non-compet title, you're not permanent and you will never become permanent. What you will get after 5 years is due process rights. Now, the difference between provisional and permanent. You're a permanent employee, you have all the rights under the union. You're a provisional employee, you don't have certain rights. First thing, you don't have layoff protection. Anytime there's a time where you may get laid off, they're called layoffs, the first people to go are the provisionals. They have to let the provisionals go before the permanents go. And there is no seniority amongst provisionals. A provisional with 25 years of service can be kicked out by a provisional with only 1 day of service. If you're permanent, your civil service status, your seniority goes with you as long as you own that title. And you will own that title until you get a new permanent title. A step-up provisional is somebody who has a permanent title but was moved provisionally into another title. So if something happened in that other title that they were moved in provisionally, then they drop you back to your permanent civil service title, which you're protected. Now, that being said, let me just say this. There's a test right now that's coming out, and it's kind of water under the bridge now because the filing period is over. And I'm talking about the computer programmer analyst trainee exam. Now, I have people calling here who are computer specialists who are taking the exam. Now, remember, there's a $42,000 difference in salary. If you get picked up off that computer programmer trainee title, there's a $42,000 difference in salary where they make $41,000. The minimum salary of a computer specialist is $83,000. There's nothing to say that the agency won't pull you from the list and pick you up, but you have to accept the appointment. Now, the problem with that is, suppose you accept the appointment of a computer program analyst trainee. Your salary goes with the computer program analyst trainee. So whatever you were making as a specialist, now you're going to be making as a program analyst trainee, which is the $41,000. Another thing is, well, let's say another scenario. Let's just say that management says, okay, we're going to make you step up provisional after we pick you up on the list of program analyst trainee. First of all, make sure you get that in writing. The second thing is, remember, you have no time and grade in a program analyst trainee title, so you're still at ends if something happens because you have no seniority. You haven't even done a day. You haven't even done your probation period within that title. So you're at risk. Now, we have an agreement with the city that if there hasn't been an exam or anything like that within your title and you're in that title, there's nothing going to happen to you. There's nothing going to happen to you. But make sure when an exam comes out for your title that you take that exam. Because if you don't, the law says, civil service law says that provisional employees in a title have to be replaced with permanent employees within that title as soon as the list is certified. So keep that in mind. If you get into a position like that, you want questions, you have questions, do not hesitate to call this office. If you've already paid for the filing of the computer program analyst trainee and your computer specialist, yes. Why waste your money? Take the exam. But if you pass it and they call you from the list, they want you to be picked up from the list, then I suggest that you give us a call before you make any one of those rash decisions, because that's just what it will be, a rash decision. The other thing is, we still have people who call and they don't leave a message. And sometimes we're talking to other members on the phone, and we see your number come up, and it comes up 3 or 4 times because you're calling us every 5 minutes, every 2 or 3 minutes, and we haven't got to you because when you're on the phone, we're not going to hang up on you to talk to somebody else. So if you want us to call you back, leave a message. The phone is answered 24/7. 24/7. Sometimes you get the machine, most of the time you don't. But if you do, it's because we're busy helping another member. Sometimes we're not even in the office. We're at a meeting. We're at a hearing. So please, if you need to be serviced and it's important, make sure that you leave a phone message. And don't send emails unless we ask you for an email. You just arbitrarily send an email. I'm getting about 80 emails a day. I may not get to your email for a day or two, answering the phone calls and doing hearings and things like that. And if it's an emergency, how would I know? I don't get a chance to look at the emails frequently. I mean, once or twice a day, maybe. If your email comes in between that time, you may be looked over. So anyway, those are a couple of things that I want to tell you. You have to be careful about this. And make sure, the last thing, make sure you vote. You have to vote. We're taking away all of our rights, and they're taking away our rights because we're not going to the polls telling them what we think. We're going to have to vote. You always have to vote. Tell your friends to vote. Tell your family to vote. Vote for your rights. Vote for your rights. Good and welfare this week. Mike Halcott from HRA is recovering from an injury. Dana Hughes from HRA, unfortunately, he's in a medically induced coma right now. He had a bike accident. So we don't know how he's going to turn out, but our love goes out to him, of course. And Leonard Walker from NYCHA, his mother passed away, and our love goes out to that brother also. Until I speak to you again, in solidarity, this is Robert Ajayi.